we do need honest journalism in this. You know, we've made such big strides over the last 2 months, but we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, you have to watch these people every once in a while just to see where they're coming from, and it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse, and they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be turned off. I don't think they're not doing any ratings. You're doing well in the ratings.
Thank you.
Nothing like a Friday afternoon press conference to let the entire world know just how fascist this president really is.
What do you say to American military families who are seeing Elon Musk at the Pentagon today, are hearing about Defense Department cuts, and their thoughts are immediately going to the safety of their loved ones who are currently deployed?
Well, we're making our country strong. And when they see a thing like that and they hear that story about Elon in China, what they should do is realize that the New York Times is a corrupt institution, because I think they're the ones. They knew that story wasn't true. Nobody believed that story. People that, when I first called, they laughed when they heard the story. Nobody believed it, that the Pentagon was giving him a briefing on what war with China would look like, and he has business. No, they made that up because it's a good story to make up. They're very dishonest people.
The reporter didn't bring up the New York Times story about Musk meeting at the Pentagon for information about a possible conflict with China. He asked what he'd say to military families that see Musk at the Pentagon while cutting off their families and agencies that support them. But the worst liar this country's ever seen went straight into denying the story about Musk because he's a dumbass whose excuse was my yes men laughed about it. The presser was all over the place, but the fascism was a standard theme.
Organized event. You know, take a look at their signs. Take a look. They're all made by the same sign company. A nice, expensive job. Now, these are the people that finance it are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires. So we'll see.
No proof, not even a healthy hypothesis to believe that the string of Tesla dealerships being burned is some kind of coordinated sign-making attack on his favorite oligarch. But he did remove his lips from Elon's ass long enough to post how eager he is to send Americans off to foreign detention camps. I look forward to watching the sick terrorist thugs get 20-year jail sentences for what they're doing to Elon Musk and Tesla. Perhaps they could serve them in the prisons of El Salvador, which have become so recently famous for such lovely conditions.
You said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe they'll go to one of these prisons in El Salvador. Do you think with the way that the judges have been issuing injunctions, it would be easier or harder to send these Tesla domestic terrorists to a jail in El Salvador than these MS-13 or Tren de Aragua guys?
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. When I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th, the Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashley Babbitt. Nobody was killed. And you look at what's going on now with these terrorists. These are terrorists.
Weird how all the people with Trump derangement syndrome called that his fascist belief system would soon target American citizens for anything he deemed terrorism. And again, he couldn't help but bring up his domestic terrorists that literally invaded the Capitol with plans to murder lawmakers, including his vice president. But this embarrassing display from the White House shifted to foreign policy.
Buy them also, and certain allies will be selling them, perhaps toned-down versions. We like to tone them down about 10%, which probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right?
Nothing says trustworthy like a guy announcing the sale of fighter jets to allies with the caveat that we just might turn into adversaries. It's comforting to isolationist madmen that believe in invasions and territory stealing. He and his warmonger in the Department of Defense like to paint their cowardice as strength.
Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore. President Trump has reestablished American leadership. The F-47 is part of it. And Mr. President, thank you for having the courage to do it and leading the way for all our warfighters.
I mean, literally everything these guys say is based in self-righteous hyperbole with zero reality to back it up. Because every time he's asked about doing literally anything to get Russia to take part in negotiations that don't involve Putin getting everything he wants, he minimizes the aggression and acts like Vladimir is paying attention to his lies about resolving it.
As Russia continues to attack Ukraine, are you planning to impose any sort of sanctions?
Well, they're fighting against each other. Yeah, I think we're going to have
Do
We
you
have a ceasefire on a lot of areas, and so far that's all held very well. And getting that ceasefire, you know, they had a lot of guns pointing at each other. You had some soldiers, unfortunately, surrounded by other soldiers, and they are going to be, I believe, we're going to have pretty soon have a full ceasefire, and then we're going to have a contract.
And don't forget, his Secretary of Defense just claimed we no longer look like fools because Donald Trump is on the case. The guy who just said the ceasefire is working well and will be complete soon. Someone should tell him that his buddy in Russia is still bombing Ukrainian cities while he's foolishly bragging about peace.
Right.